Hey Geek Frost!
Ross.
Hi, my name is Anna and I'm a singer.
Hi, my name is Peyton and I'm a dancer.
And today, what are we doing today?
Today, we are back after quite a while for a brand new reaction. And today, we'll be reacting to a solo debut of one of the Day 6 members, Wonpil.
Yes, so Wonpil is here with a new release, his first official solo release. The song is called Voiceless, Korean title 안녕 잘가, which really just hits you in the feels that this is going to be a sad song, but obviously we also watched the teaser, so we kind of know what to expect. And you know us, we love Day 6 music, so therefore we probably will love this. But to find out, that being said, let's go! Blue eyes had to remind me of the ocean. There stood before me a mermaid. Where's that from? Oh, thank you. I couldn't read it. It was so small.
Yeah. That's interesting though, because when I watched the trailer, I was like, is this referencing The Little Mermaid at all? Or like that sort of thing? Like the sad version.
The foam. Ah!
Yeah.
That would make sense with the titles.
He looks very young. So many strings. The water makes me nervous.
Oh!
Oh man.
Oh. Oh, that was pretty.
That was cool.
Oh. Beat change. I mean, I already had a feeling we wouldn't be talking a lot during this.
It is definitely Little Mermaid. She's saving him.
What are the... 갑자기 a dog?
Rottweiler?
The section. Doubling. The octave below. Human. Oh. Oh. Oh.
he waiting? He reached through her eyes, waves came in slowly, and he had no choice as he stood there and just looked her in her eyes in awe. Mermaid, mermaid. Young
tiger. Powerful.
This is gonna come as a surprise to no one, but because this is a slower song, there's no dance, it's a possible enlistment song, we will be doing this conversation style. Anna, would you like to start?
Not possible, very much likely enlistment song. And not only for that reason, but like obviously reasons in the music video it's sad. I mean, lyrics, what you're seeing visually, the way he's singing it, very emotional. I was going to say though, like, one thing that you always know Wonpil's voice for, because his vocal tone and just like his voice part is like higher pitched and more thin clear, you always know him for like his higher note lines, which obviously came out in this as well, which is like, I'm singing out my emotions. Like sort of cry out. Even when it doesn't intend to be, just because of the way his voice naturally is, it sort of like has a feeling lingering. But also because of the way his voice is, since it's like clear, it always feels very like pure, sort of cleansing.
Like water is a cleansing thing.
Yeah. Wow.
No, but I get what you're saying, because even before like the teasers or anything came out, I was trying to think like, oh, what will his solo debut be like? When it was announced he'd be having one, and I was like, it will be very emotional, because that is what he sounds like when he sings.
The song also was just like perfectly fitting for like the concept that they're going for, because like you were right, it was the story of the Little Mermaid, but like closer to the actual story, not like the Disney adaptation.
For my emotional sake, we're just gonna pretend that at the end she just leaves, doesn't turn into foam, she just goes home.
But yeah, it felt like the sort of songs that you'd hear in the background of like fairy tale movies, even if it isn't the Disney version. So the song is in 6/8 time, which is different from the typical 4/4 time that you think of in like pop songs. Day6 plays around with 6/8 time a lot in their music though, and just like other time signatures. Basically that means that there's 6 beats in a measure and an 8th note is 1 beat. But
1, 2, 3,
4, 5, 6, yeah.
1, 2, 3,
Sorry.
4, 5, 6, yeah.
But that also lent itself to like we were both swaying the whole time. And also, even though it's not in 3/4 time, it's like kind of felt waltzy, like waltz elements.
In dance, you use a lot of 6/8 music for waltzing.
Mm-hmm.
It's interesting that you were like, it made us both rock, because I was thinking about that too as something to say, because it's kind of like the sea sort of like lulling you like you're on a ship. It's like comforting, even though it's a very sad story.
Or it's hypnotic.
In a much more dark story.
Which is what this is closer to.
It is closer, yeah. Anyways, completely unrelated to that, I wanted to talk about the symbolism in it though, because like obviously the storyline, if you're familiar with Little Mermaid, is pretty easy to follow, but there's a lot of elements of symbolism in it. Like the water is a big one, and I think the water, it's actually very deceiving, which fits with the like storyline that the lyrics are telling, where it's sort of this more turbulent relationship that he's like having to let go of this person, because it seems like it would be almost calmer, because the scenes of him underneath it, it's almost like he's floating, and it doesn't come in like rushing, it's sort of like building. But in one way you could look at that as sort of like the emotions and like the tensions and everything are building until you're almost drowning in it. And then as he's looking back, it's like he's drowning in the memories of it. But I thought it was interesting because if you look on the wall, there were a lot of pictures of a lot more turbulent water, like the big crushing waves and things like that, that I felt more strongly in the second verse when you were like, beat change, and he's like falling, and it's like this continued fall. And I was like, that's such an interesting contrast, because if you were just watching it and just listening to like the rocking, gentle like movement, you'd be like, oh, it's so sweet, but then like you really think about it and you're like, no, like this is very dangerous. Like even if it looks calm on the surface, there's all of this tension underneath it, which is like a very good representation of the relationship that's being described. So
wow, you're so smart. But yeah, musically it also tells that sort of storyline like you mentioned when I said the beat change that happens towards the second half of the song. But also if you think about the transition from like the beginning when they're using basically only like piano and string instruments, and then all the string instruments just feel very sweet. But then it transitions into like more band style instruments. You hear the drum kit for percussion and like the electric guitar lines coming in, and then the beat change. So it does feel more turbulent, like you're underwater, like you were saying. Okay, this is like the last musical thing that I wanted to say though, and I don't know how to transition into it, so I'm just gonna say it. A lot of what I was getting from the melody, I noticed a lot of sequences, and they're all like ascending sequences. So it's like, oh, this hopeful feeling. But sort of contrasting that is the main line when he sings that 안녕 잘 가. It's the same two pitches, so he goes up and then exactly right back down. It gives that feeling of like a beginning and end, like sort of closure for the story. But also it made me think of the swaying feeling again, because you're just like going right back to where you left off. And it's very like easy to follow and copy. Why?
Because you're going right back to where you left off, because she left. Back where you started without her.
But it's not like a full like cycle coming full circle. It's like sort of backtracking. Yeah, failing.
This was lovely.
It really was. I know we were silent during it, but like I was saying earlier, it felt like a crime every single time I spoke over it. But I was like, we can't be completely silent, no audio.
It's just so lovely. So sad.
Mm.
So, TLDR for the video is Wonpil. First and foremost, congratulations on your official solo debut as a singer-songwriter. This was everything that we expected from a Day 6 member solo and from a Wonpil solo. It's lovely. There's interesting musical elements. The emotions are so raw and relatable. And the storytelling is just beautiful. Clearly we enjoyed it, even if there are sadder implications to the fact that this is happening. But we will enjoy the comeback promotion, or the debut promotions, and all of the activities that he has planned for it in the meantime.
But as always, if you would like to talk with us more about Wonpil solo, about The Little Mermaid, about fairy tales, the contrast between actual fairy tales and the Disney adaptations, then feel free to talk to us at our socials, which are linked in the cards. And as always, if you enjoyed this reaction video, be sure to like, comment, subscribe, turn on your notification bell, and bye!
Bye!